Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm here with another board game review about Escape Room, the game. This is part 1 of the box, and today I'm going to tell you that why you should be playing this one. Now, Escape Room, the game, as I said, this is part 1 because this was the most old box that they had released. Since then, they had released other parts and even expansions for this one. And I will be covering two expansions of this one in a separate video. But for now, this video is going to cover only the base box and what comes in this base box. So this one actually has 4 cases in it which you're going to play through. These are escape room type games, which means that there will be spoilers and thus I cannot show you all the components. But if you have played any kind of escape room games, then these are going to feel very similar, that you have to solve puzzles. These might be do some deduction, do some decoding, and then come to a resolution, and then that will help you solve the case. So that's in just what's going to come in the escape room, the game as well. How this differentiates from games like Exit or Unlock is basically using this decoder machine. Once you press this button, a timer will start, which is going to actually start a timer of 60 minutes. Each of these cases you are required to solve within 60 minutes. If you fail to do so, then you will fail the main objective. You can still keep following and keep solving the case. The game will not stop you if you exceed those 60 minutes, but it will show you how much time you have elapsed above 60 minutes. At certain intervals, it is also going to give you a buzzer sound, which tells you that you are now eligible for a hint as well. So in case you have not solved enough of the puzzles, the buzzer actually gives you that, okay, you can open a hint. In case you have not already opened it, or in case you have not solved enough clues or reached any conclusion, you can open the hint at any time if you want, but the buzzer actually lets you know as well that the hints are available, because in the end you have to solve within 60 minutes. Now, what else this device is going to do is that for each of the cases, it comes with these plastic keys, and each of these keys are going to have different kind of configurations. So for example, if you look at any of these keys, they will have different kind of inscriptions and shapes on them. Their key tooths are different, so some will have 2 tooths, some will have 1 tooth, and at different locations. The shapes in the top will have sometimes circles, square, rhombuses, triangles, so those are different. Even the inscriptions of them will have Roman numerals, alphabets, numbers, arrows, some shapes, some zigzag shapes like normal keys, and all of these are going to be helpful, or at least some of them are going to be helpful for one puzzle, but the other things are going to be helpful for the other puzzle. Because in the end, how you're going to solve the cases is that once you are trying to solve the puzzle, once you have the solution of the puzzle, the solution is going to guide you that which key to use. And that is the key. So for example, if you deduce that it's actually a triangle shape that I'm coming up with, so maybe it's giving you the hint that you have to use the triangle key, and that's the triangle key. On top of this decoder, there are 4 slots in which you have to input the key. Once you have all the solutions, you are going to put those 4 keys based on what you have concluded. Once you enter the 4th key, it is going to give you a buzzer sound telling you whether you were successful or wrong. So that's an error sound, which means that, of course, because I randomly just put these keys in, which means that one of these keys is wrong, or all of them are wrong, or some of them are wrong. You don't know, but you know that the answer is wrong that you have done. So you will be taking out, maybe I was not sure about these 2, recalculating the puzzle, and then finding out what's the next one. If I'm able to work out correctly the puzzle, I'll enter those keys and then it will work out. The decoder has already pre-programmed correct combination of different puzzles. So whichever puzzle you are playing, you don't have to do any configuration of which puzzle you are playing. Puzzle number one, whichever puzzle you will play, this decoder will automatically know that this is an acceptable combination, and then it will know, okay, now you have solved puzzle number one, so the next puzzle number two should have this answer based upon which puzzle you are playing. So this was a time indication that time has passed, and now 5 minutes have passed, and accordingly you can open a hint if required, or it will even just give you a hint or an alarm that okay, time is passing, have a look at the time, keep solving the clues. Now, because in any of these puzzles, what's going to happen is that there are normally three parts of each case. Three parts, and in each case you have to find the four correct keys. So that's four keys, plus the fifth puzzle is actually finding the right combination of keys, that which key goes first, which key goes second, third, and fourth. So there are five things that you are finding, the four keys and one combination for each and every envelope in the case. So three envelopes per case, five puzzles that you have to solve per envelope. So there are 15, 5 multiplied by 3, 15 puzzles that you are solving per case. So 15 puzzles here, 15 puzzles here, 15 puzzles here, 15 puzzles here. That's what you have to solve in each 60-minute. 15 puzzles in 60 minutes, that gives you roughly 4 minutes per puzzle that you have the luxury of. Some puzzles will be of course easier, more simpler than the others, but that's roughly the average that the time you will have to actually solve. That's why a 5-minute timer is good enough, that it tells you, okay, now have you solved enough thing? Have you at least got one thing right that you can proceed forward? Now, what else this decoder is actually going to help you do is that other than the components that come in these envelopes, there are going to be different engravings that are made on the decoder itself. So it might not be clearly visible from that far away, but there are different engravings on this one, and not all of those engravings are going to be useful for each and every case. These are different kind of ciphers which you might find helpful when solving different kind of cases. So one might be Morse code. So if you find any Morse code here, there is a Morse code printed on the decoder itself, that if it is dash 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 dot dash, then what does that it represent in forms of letter, and you are writing out the whole sentence if you find a Morse code in the code. So the those references are given on these decoders to help out when the decoder might be useful. The puzzles are going to have a marking of ER. Wherever you see that marking, that's a way of giving people the hint that okay, don't try to solve it with the components within the envelope, try to have a look at the decoder as well. So that makes a little bit helpful for the users. Now let's talk about the cases that come in this one. I have told you everything that comes with the decoder. Of course, you're going to need some batteries to operate this, but there is no other functionality of the decoder itself other than just giving some random sound, buzzer sounds, and using the keys to tell you whether your answer is right or wrong. The physical element of this is of course going to be the charm as compared to other unlock games. Now when it comes to these other puzzles, the first one is going to be, these are in various difficulty, but I'll say the difficulty is more related to your own personal preference as well. So for example, the Aztec one, which is farthest from me right now, this one is was rated as the highest difficulty one, but since I love these kind of treasure hunting, Indiana Jones kind of puzzle solving, where you are rotating disc and matching symbols, those kind of puzzles I love. So to me, this one was the easiest or most interesting one. So difficulty rating, I will not go as per what's mentioned on the box, but I'll say that's more dependent on your own personal preference, that which puzzles you are good at solving. Now, With that caveat out of the way, the first puzzle that comes in this box is called the prison break. I've only taken one envelope out. There are three envelopes that come with each of these cases, just to show you a little bit what comes in this game, because I don't want to spoil each and everything. So in the prison break, of course, as you can understand, the theme that your intention would be to something like to escape out of a prison. And well, there will be other components rather than just a location map, which you will actually, the location map will come later, but first you have to solve other things in this one and you have to escape. Puzzles wise, this was, I will say, the more simple one, the most standard one, except part 3, where part 3 got even though it's a very quick small short puzzle, but it was slightly weird in different ways. That why would someone leave? So you're using some hints left by a previous prisoner. He was planning his escape, and you're using the hints left by him to make use for your escape. But if that's the logic you're going with, then the hints left in part 3 are so dynamic, like clothes lying in a laundry. Well, the hint giver wouldn't leave it like that. The laundry items would have changed so much since then, but they used it as a hint to how to solve part 3, and that's why part 3 left a bad taste in my mouth. But otherwise, these were generic and slightly fun kind of puzzles, especially in part 2 of this one, that I enjoyed when the cell picture came up, that okay, these are the things in the cell. Then you have to locate that okay, the different parts of the puzzle have been torn, where are they in the cell. So that was interesting. The second one was called virus, in which a chemical has been released in the lab, and now you have to find the antidote for that lab. And again, I'm not taking out all the components. There are multiple components that come in these envelopes, just to give you a look at the kind of artwork that exists in the game. So again, it's going to present a picture of the lab, and the things you will have to take hints from different components, different things that they are there in the lab, and then solve those things. To me, this was the least interesting one. It really didn't make a good story. Okay, who released the chemical? I thought we were making the chemical, and then suddenly the chemical was released, and in the end we were just trying to find an antidote to escape. To me, actually, maybe it was there, but I just didn't understand the story. I just solved the puzzles and then went out. But to me, the puzzles in this one were the most convoluted, and I had to use the most hints for this one, because without hints, I was just unable to solve those puzzles. Which brings me to hint system. So each of these games is going to come with hints, which are those red cards which you cannot read clearly without using a red screen. So those hint cards will go inside and you can see the hints of those. Even with those hints, sometimes I was unable to solve the puzzles in this one, and I had to look at the complete walkthrough which was available on their website, which has the complete walkthrough PDFs available, and then find out what's the answer of those cases. The next one was the nuclear countdown. Honestly, this was my second most favorite case out of those, in which one of the guys has become kind of a bomber, and you have to find out where he has planted the bomb, and then well, try to defuse the bomb before it goes off. And that was really the interesting part, because what you are presented with is this kind of map of the city, and then you are trying to track all his movements, his credit card bills, where did he go, where was the person, what areas was he trying to actually see, what is his motive. Those are the kind of things you're trying to deduce, and then come up with the plan that okay, this might be his plan, and accordingly this is the place where he might have planted the bomb, because this is his intention. and unless you work out all of those things, you cannot find the answer. And that's why this was one of the cool ones. Plus it came with, the others come with just envelopes, but this one came with this kind of briefcase as well, where the part 2 is actually a sleeve on top of the briefcase, and part 3 was actually the real briefcase strapped with a cell phone, and you have to diffuse this one to actually open and find the final components to uh, save the briefcase from exploding. So that was pretty interesting for me. Slight components change, and the theme was very interesting and relevant, and how you go about solving. And that's why this was my one of my favorite ones from this box, the nuclear one. Then the last one is going to be the Aztec one. As I said before, that this theme really appealed to me. Solving Indiana Jones like themes, finding treasure, going into old temples, and then trying to solve old symbols, Mayan symbols or Egyptian symbols. This was Mayan, but that's my kind of jam. And here you will be presented with that kind of beautiful artwork, and you will be trying to solve the puzzles in the temple, trying to find the really valuable diamond, and then make your escape. So the puzzles in this one were really interesting, and that's why, even though it was not as innovative as the nuclear one, but the puzzles in this one were really nice, which actually were very interesting. The only flaw in this one, the last part 3 of this puzzle was a little convoluted as well. And then when I found out the walkthrough, I found out that actually I have the older edition of the game, because the components of the game, or at least the printing on the puzzles and few components, have been increased in the second edition, or the new printing of the game itself, because the walkthrough was showing some additional hints that come in the last envelope, plus some of the pictures on the puzzle were updated as well to be more clear. So maybe that was a constant feedback that came from others as well, that the part 3 of this puzzle didn't really make that much sense, even though I was very close at solving it but didn't get quite the right answer. So then I saw, I was tired, I said, okay, let's see the walkthrough, because we ran out of hints. So we saw the walkthrough, and then we realized, oh, we were so close, but these components are slightly updated and they make more sense than the components we got in our printing. So maybe that's why they actually changed the components itself. So maybe if you get the new copy of the game, then you will not face that kind of issue yourself, because you will be getting the updated version. Now, which brings me to the thing about replayability of this game. Even though escape room games are not supposed to be replayable, but the developers of this one have given an option of making you think that, okay, if you want to play it one time and then hand it over to someone else, then they have given an option for that, because any component that you have to destroy, bend, write upon, cut, that's the kind of thing that you have to do with the components that are available, because I'm not showing you any of the detailed components that come in this. There are a lot of small pieces of paper that come in this, which you have to again use in various ways to solve the puzzles. But all of such components which are going to get slightly damaged or destroyed have a printer icon on them, which means that the developers are giving you an option that instead of destroying the original component, you can take a copy and print out of the same component, and then make a copy of it and then use that copy rather than destroying your original component, which is a good thing as compared to exit games, in which they don't really tell you that which component is destroyable and which component is reusable. So in exit game, you end up, even by mistake, you end up actually destroying your components. But in this one, you will get a slight hint by a printer icon that, okay, this component, you have to do something with it, which is going to change its shape, and thus you can make a copy of it. Even though My other flaw with this game, which is counter to this one, is the components in the game, in all escape room game, even not just part one. I have played even the latest part three of these games as well. Escape room, the box games are always kind of bad. They are kind of always made of paper material. No cardstock is ever used. So the quality of the components that you are using is very flimsy, and you really don't think of them like reusable components. You only very rarely some components are laminated sheets, like big maps are laminated, but otherwise all other components are not even laminated or pamphlet like material. They are kind of recycled paper. Even the box quality itself is your standard cardboard box, which is used for packaging, and not your board game quality box, which is very poor, because this looks like a toy store box rather than a board game box. So the quality of the materials for the game components, not the decoder, the game components is very, very low. It's made cheaply, and that was not very beautiful to have a look at when the table presence is not going to be good as compared to other exit or unlock like games, where the components are nice as well, even though whatever the components they use. So that was my second flaw with this one. But overall, when it comes to the fun level of this game, I will also rank it below unlock and exit games, because they are more coherent in their stories, in their puzzles, whereas this one is, well, falls short of the excellence that is created by both of those series like unlock and exit. So if you are a true escape room type game fanatic, where you love all of these kind of games, and especially if you have families who are going to enjoy this kind of different component, and you want a different experience from unlock and exit, because my family did enjoy putting these keys. Okay, let's try to find the solution. This key is going to get solved by the Roman numerals, this key is going to get solved by arrows, and that means this key should be going, and then putting the keys inside and then getting the answer buzzer. So that physical component was there, which was the only attractive part that came in the game. So if you are going to enjoy that, or do you think you are going to enjoy that as well, only then get this one. But if you have not played unlock or exit games, those are, as a game wise, far more superior than escape room the game. So hopefully that tells you whether this game is going to be right for you or not. If this was useful for you, don't forget to leave a like or any comments for any questions that you have about the game. I will try to cover two of its expansions as well in a separate video. Till then, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. That's it for me. Happy gaming.